given a name to my pain. The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Bat of Gotham. You don't really think you'll win, do you? I'm Batman.
Hello and welcome to episode 151 of the Batman on Film podcast. If this podcast was a Pokemon, it would be Mew. Let's see how many times I can keep that up. BOF is the sponsor as well as a proud member of the Batman Podcast Network. Check out all the shows over at batmanpodcastnetwork.com and follow our Twitter at BatPodNetwork. If you're listening to us on iTunes, if you take the time to rate and review the show, we'll read it on the air. BOF is also now on Patreon. If you like what we do here at BOF, whether it's the podcasts, vlogs, or the website itself, and you want to help support us if you're so inclined, please head over to patreon.com/BatmanOnFilm and sign up. I'm the host of the BOF podcast, Ryan Haas, and on tonight's awesome show, we are going to discuss the final trailer for Joker, and then begin to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the original Batman Arkham Asylum video game with an epic roundtable discussion about nearly all the games in the franchise, which is now known as the Arkhamverse. A conversation so large, it will not be finished within this one episode. This will just be part one of two. But first, to help open the show and discuss this final trailer for Joker, we have with us Pete Verra.
Hello, Ryan. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to be back here. Back-to-back podcasts. I've been gone for a while, but it's good to be back on the show.
Nice. We also have Eric Holzmann.
Hello, Ryan. Hello, Pete.
And
it's good to be back again.
What's going on, Eric?
Yeah.
I skipped an episode, but I'm back now. So
You're back now. And hello, Mr. Paul Hermann.
Whoa! What? This isn't a Marvel podcast. What is this? Where am I?
Yeah, we just did a Marvel podcast, and you weren't on it. That was weird.
No, you did not. Seriously?
We talked about D23 and MCU stuff on episode 150.
And you didn't invite me.
Ooh, sick burn.
No, hold on. That's our MCU reference too, right? Guys, when Tony says, Thor's taking out a squad
Oh,
on 18th,
and you didn't invite me.
I didn't invite me. Oh my gosh.
I've seen those movies.
Sure.
a few times.
Yeah, I believe you.
Maybe like once or twice,
Not ever in a marathon. Just once.
Never in marathon. Only in increments.
Hey, they
20
announced
minutes.
the 4K for Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Comes out in a couple months.
Yeah, it comes out in like a month and a half. It comes out on October 1st.
With a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me that stuff I'm going to have to like beg my wife to let me get.
He's like, my wallet's already been beaten enough.
Dude, it is. It's like, I was just talking about that Batman Steelbook. It's like $100. Like, okay, small story time. When I ordered that thing, I'm thinking like, okay.
Now, whoa! I love story time with Paul, but we need context. You're talking about the Steelbook Best Buy exclusive Steelbook collection of the Burton Schumacher Batman movies that everybody should be getting.
Yes. So I bought that thinking like, oh, cool. It'll be like, it'll come out when it gets shipped. Well, later on, and I also secretly bought the Ghostbusters 1 and 2 Steelbook.
Secretly.
I have that right here. I got that early, and then I still haven't watched it.
Well, here's the thing. Like, my wife bought me the 4Ks, the regular 4Ks for Valentine's Day, and I was like, I still want to get this. So anyway,
Well, it's got extra stuff on it though.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I don't tell her that; she'll get upset. So anyway, I didn't tell her, but I'm thinking, okay, I put some money in from. Long story. Anyway, I put some money in, thinking like we're good. It'll cover that, but then she won't. This thing will come out. The Batman will come out in September. I'll be good, and then sure enough, I get it. Like I'm like, I'm hanging out. She's like, Paul, and I'm like, yeah. She's like, what did you buy at Best Buy? I'm like, I got a couple things, and she's like, you spent $150 at Best Buy? What did you get?
It's that Batman Steelbook I've been talking about.
I know. No. I was like, I put some money in from I don't care. Why did you buy? I'm like, wait a minute. Why is it already showing up now? And so it's been pending since April.
Yeah, they put a hold on it.
Yeah.
And then isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Dude, and so I've been in trouble ever since. So I'm thinking like, I explain it. She's like, oh, whatever. You always want to save money and do this and do that. And I'm getting, whatever, I'm getting I'm getting berated. And I'm just like, just take it. I need Batman. Take it. I need Batman. So then I'm like, okay, whew. After she, does her thing and she's fine. I'm like, good. Got that over with. Literally 2 weeks later, that stupid Best Buy thing still is on there. I'm like, oh my God. Like she still hasn't dropped it. Like she still mentions it. It's still pending.
That's great.
So anyway, I just want this stupid movie to get through so I can maybe buy other things. So, which is going to suck. It's like, it's $100 right there outside. It's like right there. Bam. And then you know what's coming out too? Freaking Triple Force Friday.
Oh no. And Batman, Star Wars, and Marvel. Oh my God.
Wow. I hate life. Anyway, I'm done.
I hate that I have all this merch and good stuff to buy.
It's an embarrassment of riches. We truly are in a golden age, and those Batman 4Ks, I would be having to wait until September 2 if I hadn't got them from Bill early, the single disc releases, so I can review them for the website. Plug for my review on BOF. Those discs are so good. The transfers are great. They are the best versions of the movies, probably even better than you would see in the theater if you didn't go see them in the theater for the re-releases this year.
I love seeing them in the theater.
Yeah, Pete, you saw all 4 of them, right?
I did.
Yeah,
and Batman and Robin never looked better.
So yeah, if you're a fan of those movies at all, get them. Or if you just like 89 or in any one of the movies, get the one you like. But that Steelbook collection, man, I'm getting that too. Super good.
I hate
super good. Yeah, I do too. But we're also going to be spending money on this Joker movie. Out.
Dude.
Yeah, speaking of Triple Force Friday, that's the same day Joker's released.
What? And that's when New York Comic Con is?
Yep.
Oh,
dude, that week is going to be nuts.
Yep.
But right now, in order to watch the Joker trailer, you don't have to pay anything. It's free. So
it is free.
Very valid point.
It is free. So we want to talk about this thing, and what's cool about this whole final trailer is that it's the final trailer, the second trailer. They're not tripling down, they're just doubling down. They're just giving us 2 trailers, and that seems like that's going to be it for this movie, which I think less is more for a movie like this. We'll get more into it, but what I thought would be fun is to open our discussion by watching the trailer together. So we'll do like a little mini commentary while we watch the trailer, and then we'll just discuss it for a little bit before we move on to the second part of the show. So how's that sound?
Okay,
I'm down.
All right, so
let's roll.
If you're a listener and you want to follow along with us, just get onto your YouTubes, and I'm on the official Warner Brothers video for this trailer at 00, and on 3, 2, 1, go. When I say go is when we'll press play, and let's do it. Everybody ready?
Yes, sir.
Yep. All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Is that CGI or a real city?
I think it's
that looks
probably
like
both. It's probably both. I think a lot of this movie is just real in-camera stuff. There's
Philip
minimal
said there's
CG.
No green screen in the movie at all.
Wow.
So
well, there's going to be a really real tactile quality to this stuff, but look at the saturated yet muted colors. The browns and the green.
His laugh.
Yeah. That laugh is...
It feels very forced. It doesn't feel natural, right?
Well, the way he cuts it off is like...
Yeah, he just stops. He's not really laughing. It's like he's working on it.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Some of that stuff we saw in the other trailer, but yeah, you just see him being beat down by society.
I love the conversation with the therapist.
Yep. You don't listen.
And it seems like every time he thinks he's done something good, whether it's the kid on the bus or he sees himself on TV,
he gets pushed back down.
Yeah.
Look at that. Yeah. He's happy for a split second, and then he's like, oh, they're making fun of me. Oh, man.
But this also looks like Gotham City that I kind of envision. It's not really Anton Furst, but it almost looks like Nolan's.
It's like
Gotham
70s comic book.
Yes.
Yeah, 70s comic books is what it makes me think of in a lot of ways.
It's 70s. For me, it's 70s and early 80s New York.
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah, all before Giuliani like fixed
Yep.
New York City. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is great. Just him at the rally, and he's like, "Yeah, like when do these clowns happen?" And just it's like you don't know when anything's really going on in the trailer. Like it's cut up really well. Like, why does Thomas Wayne punch him in the face? What
Yeah.
There's so many interesting things.
And a lot of the scenes are like the same ones we've seen from the other trailer. So hopefully there's a lot of crossover. And this is great. Can you introduce me as Joker?
Yeah. I love De Niro's face. He's like, huh? It's like he doesn't get it. Like, I'm begging for a Dark Knight Returns moment.
I think we're going to get it.
I
like
love
in the
this
Dark
like,
Knight
dance
Returns.
move he does at the end, too.
Well, it looks like he's trying to mimic what De Niro's character was kind of doing, like I'm mocking him or something. Oh,
right.
man. Well, there you go. There's the trailer. What do you guys think overall of this thing?
I think it's a little creepier than the first. I think it looks a little bit more disturbing. You get a little bit more of what this Arthur Fleck is about, you know, how he's constantly being beat down by society.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I almost look at it as like he doesn't adapt to how society is. You know, there's like miscommunication between the two, and neither one seems to accept each other. So he's kind of like rebelling on what he thinks is right, but like he is the villain. So I'm hoping he's just like nuts.
Yeah, I think there will be a really fine line the movie's going to have to go between like how much does society, and that maybe that's part of maybe it'll be more of an open-ended question in the movie, like who did society create the Joker, or was he really a psychopath the whole time and he just got pushed over the edge?
I've seen a lot of backlash on Twitter, just like how they're making the Joker sympathetic and how he shouldn't be a sympathetic character. But it's like, I want to wait and see before I do that. I agree he shouldn't be sympathetic. I should hate him at some point during this movie, and just like I should want him to meet his demise.
Question for all you Batman fanatics, because obviously I pale in comparison to the three of you, and you guys are more in tune with the Batman fan base. But with this whole complaint of Joker being a sympathetic character, what do all the fans hate Killing Joke then? Like, because he's pretty sympathetic.
Well, Killing Joke is its own weird.
No, I get it. I know it's all. I know people are either love it or hate it, but like, that interpretation of the Joker is totally sympathetic, like completely.
Yeah.
So
part of it from like my perspective is like, yes, but you also have like you don't know, like that could be fake. Like he could be lying about that.
Because he doesn't
Plus,
remember,
that doesn't erase the horrible things that he's done to people either, about the people he's killed.
No, of course not.
So I mean, it's so my sympathy only goes so far.
When I say sympathetic, you see the fact that like he was, what happened to him. I guess it really classifies what you would consider sympathetic, right? Like what?
Right.
Like I mean, like because I think people gave me crap for saying the Kingpin was sympathetic in the first Daredevil season.
Oh, but he is.
Yeah, exactly. But he's
that's
still
a
an
great
awful person.
Yeah, sure. Like he's like
100%.
slamming people's heads in car doors. Oh my god, that show's so good. But like,
yes,
yeah, I get. That's a good point. That's a great point.
I mean, in Killing Joke, he's sympathetic up until the acid bath. Like
absolutely,
that's it.
Yeah,
because I mean, the wife leaves him, and he's all upset and everything, and these gangsters use him, and he's the scapegoat, and like that guy dies in that vat of green acid, and out comes this monstrosity of humanity.
Hey, maybe we'll see something like that in this movie. That's serves that is maybe more symbolic, but serves that purpose where like he does get pushed over the edge, and he kind of.
Oh, he's clearly getting pushed over the edge.
Yeah, and because I think maybe we'll see. Okay, so like. Don't worry about continuity. This is not the comic book Joker. This is a character that's inspired by the idea.
He's wearing a maroon suit.
He's not the Joker. He's not the Joker, and Suicide Squad 2 is a sequel. So,
oh boy,
it's a reboot. That's what I heard.
It's a sequel, requel.
Yeah,
I like Sequel.
Seek boot. But yeah, I mean,
a sick boot. Yeah, I like sick boot.
So I think it's like. It's a movie inspired by the idea of the character of the Joker from the comic books. So there's a lot of leeway. There's a lot of stuff. There's not a whole heck ton of characters you could do this kind of stuff with, but
Right.
Batman and the characters in Batman's world are kind of a little bit more privy to this kind of
Well, they're very
thing.
grounded. Batman, they're mostly human.
Yeah, but
so
I think, but even with this offshoot Elseworlds-ish take, they're still going to be able to take a lot of themes that I've seen used with the Joker in the comics and put them to good use in this, like in the trailer of like Joker as a cultural movement or whatever. All the people with the clown masks and rebelling and rising up and stuff, like a cult leader kind of thing. That kind of thing has been used a lot in the comics with the Joker. So, and like you guys were just talking about, the seeming homage to the Dark Knight Returns stuff with the talk show host and stuff like that. So I think we're going to get a lot of at least thematic homages to the character and moments from the history. And that's cool, especially in a movie like this where all bets are off. It's its own lower budget experimental art house character drama, and that's cool. Like, you can tell an interesting story.
It's a psychological.
Yeah.
To me, it's a take on someone's psychological state. Obviously, it's in the world because yes, it's Gotham City. It's a DC film. We all know it's Joker. I think that was explicit. They didn't call it the Joker, just so that they give you the idea that it's not the same character, but it's in that same world. And it to me, it lends also to the theory that this could happen to anyone, right?
Yeah,
anyone could be taken advantage of and stepped on.
That's very Killing Joke in itself, right? Just takes one bad day.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have, it draws from the Killing Joke. Obviously, we said it draws from the Dark Knight Returns. So there's elements from Batman stories that we have here, and it's just told in a little bit of a different way. So, but the trailer this time, as compared to the first one, you do have a little bit more character moments. So you see him with Zazie Betz's character. I don't know who she plays, but she's kind of like his center. Like where he goes to feel normal, I guess. And you see that there was a snippet they released earlier in the week, to announce this trailer, and it showed him going into a refrigerator. I don't know if you guys saw that. Yeah, there's a scene where and I thought that was going to be in here. So I was looking for that and I didn't see that, but it must have been the same scene where he's standing there in his underwear looking, and then he in like his kitchen, and then he just jumps into the refrigerator in the scene that came out.
You're talking like Indiana Jones? He just jumps into the fridge?
No, he goes in there. I don't know what the reason. Obviously, it doesn't explain. There's no context given, but it just goes to show you where he's at. Another scene that goes to show you where he's at and what the world is doing to him. And I just think you got more of this trailer again. It dives a little deeper. You have more moments. They hold a little longer, for me. So. I would wanted to see it beforehand, and then you can even ask Pete today after I saw it. I called him because we're setting up the watch party, and
we've already got a list of venues out, so we got some drinking and research to do.
Yeah, so this really pushed us. This trailer did that. At least it really got us more excited. So, and
I had a tweet earlier. This trailer really has. I haven't seen a lot of positive vibes around the BOF community in like 3-4 years, and it's really nice to see everyone together again. Like, everyone seems really pumped up and hyped up about this. Like, we're all really excited.
Yeah, I'm also seeing some people go a little bit too far, where they're saying like,
yes,
well, this movie's automatic Oscar winner, or like, this is automatically the best Joker I've ever seen on film.
The greatest cinematic laugh ever. Already.
I've never been so excited for a Batman movie with the Joker since The Dark Knight. I'm like, well, there's only one other one in between. Like, you can't really, calm down a little. Let's watch the movie. Let's discuss the movie. Let's not.
I'm just happy people are discussing things in a positive manner once again on Twitter.
You see how it could be that, though. Like, you see how it could be an Oscar favorite. You see, because you just know the way that
and the way the movie's already being marketed, like it's going to have its world premiere at the Toronto Film Festival or something like that.
Yeah.
So Warner Brothers clearly knows they have something different on their hands.
And it's funny that you say that because Bill recently posted an article in BOF on how Michael Uslan basically praising
there was a great little
how it's
quote.
not a cookie cutter, how it's unique and bold, and this is different, and this is what the genre needs. And it's after just significant success from the MCU, 22 films deep, and X-Men's had 20 20 years of films. This is a real game changer for the genre as a whole.
Well, yeah. Well, and I've been saying for a long time that this is so important, and for people who don't know me on Twitter or whatever,
they should.
Well, whatever. But
one of the greatest follows of all time. If you're not following Paul Hermann, I don't know what's wrong with you. You clearly don't know gummy bears.
That's true. That much I will say. But in all seriousness, I really since they first started talking about this idea way back about a year ago, because this movie was made pretty quick. It wasn't like it was in development for a super long time.
It was
in the running with the Leto Joker movie too. There were many ideas out there.
This movie got pushed into production super fast, and people hated the idea of it so much. Where there were those article reviews of article roundups of people's negative reactions. I think even our pal Andy DiGeno from Holy Batcast, one of his initial I don't know if this sounds good tweets got really got a bunch of likes and stuff. It wound up in some of those.
Andy really, because he seems so pro it before. I thought so anyway.
Well, I don't know. It was just an initial
maybe
I don't know about this.
I was iffy when I first heard about it. I was I thought they were doing this shared universe thing. What is this Black Label Elseworlds movie?
Because it was the first. I think it was all because the very first mention of the movie was that it was a solo Joker origin movie,
and Scorsese was attached to it. And Scorsese was attached early.
Just the fact that it was it's a solo Joker origin movie, and that's all the info we had on it. And now that we know more about, 80s. That we know more about what this movie is, that's obviously not a great description of it, and that's what a lot of people's initial issues were.
Well, and when I first heard about it, and when as soon as I saw Scorsese's name, I immediately knew what they were doing. I'm like, oh, okay, this is if he's being involved in this is an original interpretation and of artist's vision, even before because I just his name attached to it, he's an artist. He's not going to make another movie, whether he's producing it or he's directing it. He's not going to produce something that's overly someone else's material in a sense to where you know what I mean? He has to either feel strongly about the material, because I don't know if The Departed's based on a book or whatever. I forgot, or it's a real, whatever.
I think it's based on an Asian crime drama movie.
Right. So, but you know what I mean? So he has to be really inspired by a story if he's going to adapt the story. So when you have this Joker thing he's attached to, I'm like, wait a minute. So this is the fact that he's making this movie, this is an original idea. I just knew immediately what they were doing with it. And I said, yes, 100%, give it to me. And then as soon as we got more information, I'm like, yes, because if you're listening to this show, you obviously like superhero films in some way or another. And I think everyone would agree that they have no signs of slowing down by any means. And if we want these, comic book films or whatever you want to call them to be successful and they keep coming out, things like this movie need to be successful and need to be made. So they'll confine an audience and maybe connect with one, so we get something different. And I think, all my criticisms of, Sony and Marvel and all the things that I can tend to do here or there, the MCU is the MCU. And obviously I love the MCU, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But what I love the fact that Warner Brothers tried to emulate the MCU to an extent. I mean, obviously it had mixed returns, whatever you want to say that is. I still like Justice League. I like all the films, to be honest. DCU. I love all of them.
You love Suicide Squad more.
Yeah, I like that movie a lot for some whatever reason. I have no idea why. I really enjoy it. It's just not. It's.
I really like Leto's Joker on top of it. It was just fun.
There's a lot of elements I do like about Suicide Squad. It's just one that I don't revisit that much.
Every time I will say this. Every time I watch Suicide Squad, I like Leto less and less. But that's all, whatever, right? But
we should do a retrospective podcast on that. Sometime. Maybe leading up to Suicide Squad 2. That would be a good reason to do that.
The reboot, that sounds good.
The sequel.
Yeah.
It's a sequel.
But anyway, as I was saying though, that I like those films, but I love the idea that they said, you know what, we're not Marvel, we're gonna do our own thing, and once they started kind of doing their own thing, I think they've had more success. Like
I agree.
Obviously with things like Aquaman and Shazam and
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, well, Wonder Woman was kind of in that mix.
It helped.
Though.
Well, it helped. I think the way that Wonder Woman was made and the reception.
Yes, I would
did
agree
not
with that. Yeah.
hurt. I think that helped push them along the idea of this solo movie that kind of does its own thing, like and it had these loose connections to everything else. Like people responded way better to this than the other stuff we're doing. I think that was one of their first indicators of like, okay, well, we can.
And so with all that, they realize, well, we have a plethora of like really. We have this plethora of characters that are iconic, right? We have Joker and Batman, and who's to say we can't make different kinds of movies and letting artists kind of have their way with these characters and not have it be a tied universe. Now, I'm not like Bill, who's anti a continuity, like in a connected universe. I think you can have your cake and eat it too. I've been yelling at Sony.
I mean, look at Spider-Verse.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been yelling at Sony, they're like, we can't have Spider-Man in the MCU. We have all the monies. And it's like, you guys can have two Spider-Man at the same time, you idiots. It's like, it doesn't make sense. Look at Warner Brothers. And this is what's going to happen.
They tried to do it in 07.
In 07.
They tried to have two Batmans at once, Dark Knight and Justice League Mortal. So
well, it did. But that was that's a whole other podcast series of like 8 episodes. You could write about Justice League Mortal. but my thing is this though, like what's gonna happen. And this is my prediction, and so far what I've been saying from the beginning, Warner Brothers has been brilliant with this idea. They're not afraid to make films outside the continuity. They're not afraid to make films inside the continuity, and they keep building their brands and things like that. That's great. But they also know, you know what? If a director or a writer comes to us and says, we have this great idea for a Batman movie, they can make a Batman movie, and they know like that one's connected to this one and this one's not. It's not that hard, I mean, some people might have a problem with it.
We're essentially going to have 3 different Batman related movies and 3 different continuities.
Yeah, and so
between Joker and Birds of Prey and Matt Reeves' Batman,
and the general audience doesn't care as long as they're good.
Yeah, and that's exactly my point. Is that and what's going to happen is I think Joker's going to open the floodgates for really I don't want to say artistic because that's so pretentious, but like, I mean, we're talking at least very writer-director driven stories.
Unique takes.
Unique takes. Like,
I'm begging for a Harley and Ivy Thelma and Louise movie. Like,
okay, so Paul, would you say that? I know you will, but would you say that the way they're doing Joker as this like director-driven, solo, unique takes on stuff is different than what we've seen in the past of like? Oh, I'm trying to think of a good example of your mid 90s, early 2000s solo singular films like a Daredevil or
obviously 100% because the difference is that they're trying to tell a very, very specific kind of like story. And granted, because it is a bad guy, that's unique in and of itself. I mean, you always hear actors and actresses say it's always funner to play the bad guy, right? Because they're more interesting a lot of times because they're more complex. The heroes aren't always complex. They're a lot straightforward. Like Superman's very straightforward. And I'm not saying they're not interesting. They can't be interesting, but I think for actors and actresses to play them, it's more interesting to play the bad guy from that perspective. So, of course they're going to be a little bit different when you compare the two, but in a sense to where the difference is that they're not afraid to take a darker take on it. And I think that's what we're benefiting from this is that there's no rules. There are no rules in these films. Whereas there are rules in a continuity, which I think is why Bill doesn't like the continuity idea of like having a shared universe. And I'm one of those
limiting
people,
this limiting the story stuff.
But I'm one of those people that is going to be a contradiction. I'm a contradiction. I think it's good to have limitations. And it's also good not to have limitations. So I feel like there's creative flow in both of them. They're creative dynamics you can have. Like, I play music for a long time. I wrote music with a band, and sometimes having limitations gets you more outside of your comfort zone, and you
sometimes have a better product.
Sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. It really depends. And my point is that sometimes having too much freedom gets you bogged down. Sometimes having not very much freedom, you can tell a very concise story. So with Joker, obviously, I think we're seeing the fruits of someone having no rules, no attachments, and saying, I want to tell my story. Here's my Joker story. Here's not the Joker story. Here's my Joker story.
A Joker story. Yeah.
Yeah. And because this character has been around for so long, there is no definitive take. And this is why I think it's going to end up happening with
and
these
it's
heroes.
A character that's been built around not having a definitive take.
Right. But even then, I think we're going to see, eventually, maybe while we have a continuity Batman film or whatever, I wouldn't be surprised if someone said, I have this idea for a 50s style Batman movie where it's based in real life and it's like this. And they go, yeah, make it. Here's, it's going to cost like peanuts to make, whatever.
Well, that's the other thing is that Joker's budget, it's not this Avengers Endgame level, has to make $2 billion like investment. It's they have more freedom because the budget is lower. That's like one of the trade-offs.
Well, and I'll say this and let you guys talk. I've been talking too much, but I'm sorry. The thing is with, and I've been saying that from the very beginning. If you have been following me on Twitter, I've been saying this from the very start. I said, this movie is going to make a killing. You want to know why? Because it's going to be super cheap to make and promote. And it's going to make probably, I think it's going to make close to 100 million opening weekend easy.
And they easily make all the money back.
And they're going to make all their money back. And it's going to be all gravy from here. And if it gets critically hyped, which I think we all can assume, it's probably going to get, good reviews. People are going to keep seeing it. It's going to stay in the theater forever. It's going to make a killing. And they're going to be like, man, this movie cost us $50 million to make. We just made like a $400-500 million profit on this stupid, art house superhero film. Who wants to make an art house cheap Batman movie? We'll give it to you. I mean, it's not rocket science.
I think this can open some doors for, like you said, like other art house stuff, like stuff on the Riddler. I think you do a similar movie in this style to that.
Totally could do something. Yeah.
I wouldn't be, that's a Todd Phillips sequel. I'd be interested, not necessarily a sequel to this movie, because I kind of like enjoy the fact that this is like a one and done, hopefully. But if he does like some sort of like episodic villain by villain movie,
like an anthology series,
I'd be totally down for that.
Do a movie anthology. I love that. Yeah,
I agree. That would be, with Batman's villains, yes. That would be a pretty impressive.
Because they're very grounded and you can keep it cheap. A guy like the Riddler, it won't cost a bunch of movies. There's not a lot of special effects there.
They're all villains, grounded villains that have strong psychological profiles.
Yep. Penguin.
You could easily do like a Hugo Strange type psychological asylum movie.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is like, for the most part though, their psychological profiles kind of work because they are a mirror of or related to Batman somehow. Mm-hmm. And normally when you take Batman out of it, you get something that doesn't really work that well, like Gotham, for instance. But
don't get me started.
We'll see how Joker does. Like I'm curious to see.
But I think Joker has respect for the character of the Joker, whereas Gotham just tried to put stuff together.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think we'll see how far you can take it if they decide, we're just, because that's going to be interesting. Like, are they just going to be like, well, this movie did great, so let's try to replicate it, or will they learn the lesson of we gave a guy a smaller budget and more freedom, and that's what gave us a good movie. It'll be interesting to see like what they get out of it. And I think that they've been making some of the better choices lately, because when Aquaman made $1 billion, before they even went and said, yeah, let's do another crazy Aquaman 2, they said, let's make a cheaper movie about the trench. Yeah. I think that's interesting. And that's kind of an interesting approach. So
I'm
all for the out of the box thinking.
By the way, I will not be seeing a trench movie. I just want to say that for the record. It's cool, the movie, but if it doesn't give me any kind of context superhero, no thanks.
What if it's like Aqualad,
I could get behind that. Yeah, give me something.
You get Caldor, or you get like Tempest.
What if they
team
have
up
some
together, something like
comic
that.
booky, like what if they do like Dinosaur Island stuff with it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Because Aquaman opened up all that stuff.
There has to be some kind of protagonist. So
it's just
Right.
trench. It's just people going through the trench.
It's just mindless beasts.
There has,
Triangle.
there has to be something that humanizes the story, or else no one's gonna care. So.
One day they're gonna make a movie that you will not have to have a human protagonist, and that movie's gonna make a killing, and then everyone's gonna copy.
That movie was called Avatar.
That movie should have been Godzilla, Gods and Monsters, but
yes, or it should have been Alien versus Predator.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I could do a podcast on Godzilla, Gods and Monsters, but we don't need to do that now.
No, not right now.
Did you not like that movie?
I like the monsters.
Yeah, the monsters were great.
Yeah.
But I didn't care about the
The
people.
monsters and the destruction of Fenway Park were absolutely amazing.
Wow. Got a Yankee fan in the house.
Yes,
Sorry.
two of them.
Oh, no, two of them. Oh, Lord.
And I was at Fenway like 2 weeks ago. Beautiful ballpark, but something about that brought a smile to my face.
Yeah.
Let's put a smile on that. Oh, Joker reference. I get it.
Ooh,
Oh,
like
hey,
Love that Joker.
Oh, yeah. Love that Joker. I have to say that this is, and people, I want you to stress, if you're on the fence of seeing this movie, if you want to see different kinds of superhero films and different films like this, support it. It really is. Like, go out and support it. If you want the same, and this is not a knock, because again, I'm the MCU junkie. I'm not going to be like, MCU is so lame because it's so big budget and like corporate. It's like, give me a break. I love that stuff. I mean, whatever. But if you want a real different kind of vibe from your superhero films, and you want people to take more chances, and again, like chances in a sense to where, they'll keep, even if it doesn't do well one time, they'll keep trying different things because they're going to make their money back some way. This is a movie to do it. This is a movie to show DC and Warner Brothers, hey, you know what? If you have a Phantom Stranger movie idea that's going to cost you like $60 million, it maybe wouldn't be a bad idea if a great director is like, hey guys, I got this great idea for Phantom Stranger, or hey, I got this great idea for a super cheap Robin movie or something. Whatever.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's just, I'm just
for
saying.
real. Like what?
Always
super
support
cheap
the
Robin movie
genre.
would be awesome.
Yeah, always, but support what you want to support.
Yeah, give it a shot the first weekend, and then if you love it, then see it a second time. Like, just don't sign up for a ton of screenings or whatever. But yeah, totally give stuff a shot.
And
The last
Phantom
time
Stranger did an amazing job in Swamp Thing,
I just poo pooed Gotham or whatever, but that doesn't mean that I didn't watch every single episode of that show. So I can at
Someone
least
had to.
Hashtag PV Gotham binge.
We all
I documented all of it.
All three of us did, Paul.
Yeah.
We all watched it.
Yeah. Plug for our BOF episode.
I watched the first season.
Oh,
I think.
see, that was the mistake.
I think.
That was the worst season.
BOF show 143. We all discussed the Gotham series.
Yes, we did. We discussed it. But it's weird. They DC tried this right with Catwoman before.
Yes, in 2004.
Yeah.
But that movie was in development hell though too, right?
See, that was
It
kind of.
originally
I
started
should
with
have.
Pfeiffer.
I should have. Yeah, I should have used that in my example earlier, Paul. When I was like, how. I mean, it's clear how they're different, but like, how is a movie like Joker different from Catwoman? And I think the difference, I mean, you can pontificate on this as well, but I think the difference is, like you guys were kind of getting into, is like that movie was more out of a corporate development hell. Well, we got to do something, and we haven't had a Batman movie since Batman and Robin,
right?
And we're not really ready to do full blown Batman thing. But Catwoman, people know what the Catwoman name is, so we'll just kind of put something out and see
they had an actress
people
who just won the
and they had
Oscar.
a popular actress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was and honestly with Catwoman, I still put that up with Elektra. I've never seen either of those movies, and I heard they're rough. Oh man, I want to own them on video.
I actually own multiple copies of Catwoman.
Well, if you can send me one, that'd be great. I'm actually
Terrence Stamp
too.
as Stick should have been amazing.
So, but the thing is, with Catwoman, it stemmed from the idea of making the Michelle Pfeiffer version, and it just kept going. And I think that, like, again, they probably approached Halle Berry. It seemed like a smart idea, and then just everything's got kind of out of the I'll never forget. I went to see Spider-Man 2 in the theater with she's my ex-girlfriend now, but my girlfriend's dad. And the Catwoman came on. And I was, you're gonna see that? Cause he knew I like comic book movies, and I was like, no. Because why not? He's like, it looks terrible. And he's like, oh, I want to see it. And we saw the trailer, and I'm like, who wants to see this movie?
And then you knew, like, this isn't going to last.
I tell you what, we need to do. I keep threatening to do this, but I need to do a Catwoman podcast. I'm trying to get Holy Batcast to do a crossover for.
Can we just do a commentary and I can join it? And
no, that's exactly what we're doing.
That's the only reason I'd buy that movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would watch the commentary, but it'd be the first time I'd ever watch it for the first time ever live.
Oh my god. I'm going to talk to Andy and see. I'll be like, Andy, can we do a BOF crossover commentary podcast with Catwoman? Me and Paul Hermann and you and Jamie Drewley, and we'll watch Catwoman.
Wow!
And do a commentary.
I gotta say, I hope I've never talked to Jamie directly. He seems like
me either.
No, hold on. And
I love
he's
his
awesome.
Twitter.
I love Jamie. I love how honest he is, and he very much feels like the DC version of me.
Oh
and
my
God.
he
he really does. I love
maybe.
No, why? Because I love how he's so unabashed. Like, I don't like Avengers Endgame or Infinity War. I was like,
yeah, he did not like that movie.
Respect, because you know what? Like, it's so easy to be like, it was good, okay, it was good. He was like, no, I did not like that movie. And if he didn't like it, that's awesome. I love that. Like, I think that's great. I mean,
I have a whole shtick plan for that show too. With like, this is like a super preview, but like I'll have the whole thing where it's like, hey, if we're tired of watching the movie, just like say cat facts, and
I've
got like a giant list of Catwoman
cat facts.
Yes, I've got a giant list of Catwoman facts that are alternate talking points.
Why haven't you done this? Let's get Jamie and Andy on. Seriously.
Yeah, so like, okay, this movie sucks, and just somebody say cat facts, and I'll be like, okay, cat fact number 1. Did you know Julie Newmar? Blah 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 blah, and it's all Catwoman related stuff.
That's
and it'll
awesome.
be like a pop-up video kind of on the fly thing.
Dude, that'd be awesome.
So, doesn't that sound... You just told me before we started recording, Paul, I have all the best ideas.
You do? Like, this is amazing.
I've had this floating around for like 2 years. So I've been trying to make it happen.
I would, and again, like I'm looking forward to eventually podcasting with Jamie. If anyone knows, tell Jamie that Paul Hermann thinks he's awesome. Like, legit. Like, he's rad. Like, I love... Because I think he's a great dude. So, anyway, but yeah, so like... I think with Catwoman and all this, Joker this is going to be the pinnacle thing you want to support. And I don't, and again, if you don't like it, you don't like it. That's fine. But I think if you want to see different takes on your characters, go out there and go out there and support this movie. Period.
I appreciate the risk.
Is
like,
that
you're taking a risk, and that's what I like.
Yeah, so I guess it's probably a good time to do like final point type thoughts about it. I think that's a good one. When you say like go support it, like it's Batman related. You like Batman, I like Batman. That's why you're listening to this show. Go see it. Go see it opening weekend. See it once, so that way we can have a conversation and a discussion about it. And if you don't like it, you only saw it once. You know what I mean? Like I think I think that's no harm in that. And then don't and then if you don't like it, you only saw it once, and you don't have to buy it like on Blu-ray when it comes out. Because I'm usually like the notorious, like I'll always see something and buy it right on Blu-ray, because I've got all the DCEU movies and stuff. Even if I didn't love all of them or whatever, I still buy them. But like for something like this, see it once.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we know it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea.
Right,
you
clearly.
Have you have your purists who are going to be mad it's not the Joker that they grew up reading and loving.
But you know what? Neither was Jack Nicholson's Joker. Like,
right. That's true.
Neither was Heath Ledger's Joker, and neither was, they all, or, certainly, Leto's Joker. They all are their own interpretations. You can nickel and dime the continuity, or like, well, it's not like the Joker was in Batman numbers, 482
right.
But you know what? Like, they're adaptations. We talked about this before. We have another plug for our
the Joker himself
show,
is an adaptation of The Man Who Laughs? Was it the
yes
movie?
Yes.
I mean, the Joker.
Gosh, I saw this.
Yeah.
Didn't I see a tweet from you earlier, Paul, where somebody was like, "That's the guy. The Man Who Laughs is still the best Joker ever."
Yeah, you know who that person was? It was Eric Larson, the comic book artist who created Savage Dragon. And I'm like,
oh, that's awesome.
Okay, no, for the record, record, I love Eric Larson. Like I grew up reading Spider-Man comics, and it was his art that I grew up reading with Todd McFarlane. And that was he was like the pinnacle. So when he went and made Savage Dragon, I was like, oh, this is so good. And he ended up having like sex in his comics. And I was like in middle school. I'm like, this is really weird. And it got weird. But anyway, but I had to tell you. But yeah, no, I love Eric Larson, and he's a little contrarian, and I'm a contrarian myself. I love being a contrarian. But when when the Joker movie came, trailer dropped and everyone's all excited, and he's like, this is definitive Joker. I was like, are you freaking kidding me, dude? Like, seriously? Like, the man who laughs, like, yeah, I get it. You get it. That was such a pretentious thing to do.
It's kind of it's a hot take of hot takes.
It's not even a hot take. It's literally a pretentious, like, this is not the wine I like to drink. This is 1945. It's not 1925, but it's good enough. It's like seriously, shut up. Like, seriously, it's like get up. Like, we get it. Manny laughs inspired the Joker. We get it. Like, don't give me that crap. So anyway, yeah, that's who it was.
All I have to say is,
I love Paul Hermann.
That's why you're on the show.
Paul Hermann loves you.
Oh, he's the best.
So I guess since we're about to transition into another part 2 discussion, how about you all three just kind of have any final thoughts and then do some plugs, and then I'll transition into the act 2 of this show.
Just picking back off what you guys said, go support it, give it a shot, just give it one viewing, and that determine if you want to go see it again, if you want to buy it when it comes out on Blu-ray or digital or whatever. But just give it a shot, support the genre in general. Don't ever want one of these comic book films to ever fail.
And then we can talk about it. And then we can talk about it, because otherwise it'll just be like, I didn't see that movie, but we're just going to keep complaining on it on the internet.
Don't be a troll.
And don't do that. Let's watch it and have a conversation. That's what we need to be doing.
Yeah, my thing would just be going with an open mind. Don't take any of your preconceived notions with you. Just go in, watch the movie for what it is. That would be my final thought. Because like I said, there are going to be people who just will buck against it, and I think that's wrong. Give it a shot.
That's wrong.
Yeah, so just give it a shot, like you guys are saying, and leave everything out that you think leave it to the side, and just go watch the movie. Because I think even if it's not the Joker, I think it's going to be a good psychological study on someone.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
nice.
Well,
so, yeah.
I think I've only done final thoughts, so I'm just gonna. I'm sorry. I talk too much. Every time I get on the show, I talk way too much than I should. I apologize.
People love it.
No, I'm sure audience people are like, get this idiot off here. Like, he doesn't like Batman.
I should have recorded the
the pre-show?
35-minute pre-show, and then just released it as its own show, because it was good.
You could have put that on Patreon.
I don't think you recorded, thank God.
I did not record it.
I may have said a few naughty words here or there, which I try to tone down on the rate. But that's debatable. I mean, they're not all naughty words to everybody. So
that's true.
No, but really quick, again, guys, thanks for having me on. This is seriously a blessing to be on.
Appreciate it.
Film. Like, no, seriously, it's my pleasure to be on. It's an honor to be on the show. And Batman on Film is responsible, literally, for my podcasting career. Essentially. So. It is. I've told the story, but I think Joker is going to be an amazing film. I really do. And if it's not, if I don't think it's not, I will gladly tell everyone, hey, I was wrong. Oh well, Right. I mean, I have no problem being wrong, but I'm going in a little hyped up, but I do think it's going to deliver. And all I'm asking for is a different kind of a superhero or supervillain or comic book movie, whatever you want to call it. And I want good performances. And if I get those things, I'm going to be happy. So yeah, nice. I think give it a shot. If you don't want to see it because you don't like, whatever, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Do your thing. But if you're kind of on the fence, go see it. Support different kinds of films.
Awesome. So let's just do some quick plugs. Pete, plug.
Real quickly, Pete Illustrated, Twitter, Vero, Instagram, all three on the same handle, all three platforms. I have a new review for Detective Comics up, issue 1010, really cool. Gave me King Kong Skull Island vibes, so check that out. Batman and Deadshot get at it, so it's very interesting.
Awesome. Eric, plug.
Yes, Final E33 on Twitter and Instagram. I actually, Pete and I will be beginning to review Batwoman coming up when that begins. The new CW show Batwoman coming up in about a month or so now. We will be covering New York City Comic Con for Batman Film as well.
Hell yeah.
And I will be renewing my role as reviewing Titans, the season 2 of Titans.
Looking forward to
DC
that.
Universe. So I'm really looking forward to that. The trailer for that came out too, and we didn't.
That's pretty
discuss that,
good, by the way.
That's the theme song.
I love that
good
theme song.
beatboxing. No, I'm serious. You did a great job beatboxing just now.
Did you know that's the theme song? Titans theme song.
Yo,
Yeah.
I've seen the first 3 episodes. I'm saying that's
I
really
love
good.
that. I love that theme song.
Yeah, it's
It's
really
great.
good.
I love
I
that
agree.
show. I think the show is fantastic.
Yes. Yeah, so definitely look out for that. Definitely look out for the Titans reviews.
Sweet.
I'm looking forward to that season 2. So
Man, I am
right?
probably way too excited for Titans season 2.
I know.
What a far cry from when that show was announced. I was like, F Batman, it sucks.
Yeah.
Just that's the whole point we were just making. But you know what? I still
Actually
gave it a
see it.
I actually saw it. I gave it a shot, and he was like, "This is actually a good show."
Yeah, I
So
remember
there you go.
when we went to the premiere at last New York Comic Con, and
you sat next to Jim Lee and watched it.
but I remember Pete and I both
I
watching
shared
it.
popcorn with Marv Wolfman.
Hey Jim, that's Robin. It's pretty cool, right? Robin's pretty cool, right? He said the F word, Jim.
He said F Batman.
And Jim's like, I never liked that F word.
No, they all were there, man. Jeff Johns, Brendan Fraser,
Dan
they all
Ditto.
were there. Yeah,
Gosh,
yeah,
That's
they all
awesome.
were there.
James Tynan.
Yep, James Tynan was there.
It was a blast.
so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, but like we went in the kind of the same way from the trailer. We were kind of like, we're not sure we're gonna like it, but we did afterwards. I remember writing the reviews, and yeah, so I'm happy that was a success. I'm happy Doom Patrol was a success, and now
Oh, Doom Patrol is amazing too.
Swamp Thing was great. I know it got canceled, but Swamp
I
Thing
know
was really great.
I haven't
for
watched
10
it, but I'm
episodes.
gonna go back and watch it. I'm gonna do that. I watched the first 2 episodes. I think that was it. So yeah, so check out for all that content, guys. BOF's gonna have a lot of content coming the next month, 2 months. A lot. We're gonna be ramping up a lot of coverage of
Gosh,
things. So.
BOF. I
A lot of
forget-
content and no
I-
sleep.
I forget how staggering the content on BOF actually is sometimes until y'all start doing plugs, and I'm like, oh my god, it's all I can do these days to like keep up with podcasts and do 87 podcasts a week or whatever, and then y'all start plugging all this stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, we do so much stuff on this website. It's kind of crazy. So
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
why it's the best.
It is the authoritative, definitive Dadgum original, of course. But Paul, you got a plug.
I
P
feel
Thug,
bad.
do some P plugs.
Oh wow, P plugs. I like that. That's good.
It's
That's
way
good.
too late for this.
Never too late. Never too late for P plugs.
BOF After Dark.
That's true. That's BOF After Dark. P plugs. That is a very interesting title right there.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they said. No, but yeah, you can check. Sorry, it is late for me. Way later for you guys. But no, you can check me out on Twitter at Herman22 with 2 N's, aka P Thug. You can also find me on Instagram. It's Herman22 with 2 N's as well. Except I'm just regular old Paul Herman over there. So follow me on those 2 things.
Sweet. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. And that will wrap up this discussion on the final trailer for Joker. And now we were going to have a Batman 66-esque transition sound to mid-July for part 1 of our giant roundtable discussion of the Arkhamverse to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Batman Arkham Asylum with yours truly, Ryan Haas, Ryan Lauer, Garret Grev, and Chris Clow. Enjoy. On tonight's show, we are going to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the original Batman Arkham Asylum video game with a roundtable discussion about nearly all of the games in the franchise, which is, of course, now known as the Arkhamverse. And here to join me in this endeavor are my BOF brothers, Ryan Lauer, Garret Grev, and the one and only Chris Clow. How are y'all?
Great! This, we didn't even get like 2 minutes past the intro and the sirens came back.
I wasn't going to. Hoss, he antagonized, and once those
set the tone for the whole podcast.
He just teased you. He said,
once you open that door,
I dare you, Lauer. I dare you not to do it.
Hey, we got some good feedback on the last show, which was our Burton Schumacher villain roundtable. They liked your Poison Ivy impressions, Lauer.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
That was a fun one, though. Like the whole show, just
fun.
the content and stuff. That was fun.
Yeah.
You know, I was worried that when it was released and people listened to it, they were going to be like, oh my gosh, these losers are having a ton of fun. And this is not actually fun to listen to, but at least they're having a good time. And then the feedback was that it was really fun to listen to. So I'm like, all right, people appreciate us for being lame. That's good.
Basically. And I did when I posted the show, I was like, if you haven't listened in a while, or if you never listened to the show, this last episode 147 is a really good one to jump on, just because we were just having fun talking about Batman stuff.
Like I'll take extra personality on my podcast for this one.
Yeah.
It's almost like we were Raven. It's the last one for a while, I promise.
Yeah.
How am I doing? You're about to find out.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, Lauer, you were kind of wanting to do this show because, whenever I asked, like, hey guys, if there's no like crazy Batman news, we should try to make some sort of evergreen topic or something to do a show on, and you reminded me yet again that this is the 10-year anniversary of Arkham Asylum, and we have already celebrated it a little bit because a few episodes ago we had Wally Wingert, the voice of the Riddler, on the show, and we had a really nice interview with him. But we don't cover games here on the show a ton. It comes up here and there, like whenever we do like the Batman Day shows or whatever, we might talk about the games a little bit, and that's where Rick Shu will be like, I played Pong and that's it, and I got Super Mario Brothers 2 6 weeks early and blah blah blah. But that's the last then he gets bored with it. So I thought it'd be really fun to kind of talk about the games here, and especially the Arkhamverse, because it is a major franchise. It's not just Batman video games. It's like a video game series that kind of changed the gaming industry too overall.
Well, I think it's inserted itself into Batman's got so many different kinds of quote unquote universes. Like there's the 66 universe, there's the Burton universe, the Schumacher universe, the animated series universe, and then once I think you could almost apply it when the first game came out, but when the second one came out, it was definitely like,
oh, for sure, this
is definitely its own chapter in like different Batman worlds.
Yeah, because now the Arkhamverse, it's not just the games. There's a ton of games, of course, and there's a bunch of lore and unique interpretations of the characters, but there's also a whole bunch of comic books, and there's mobile games and board games. There's a whole extra wing of merchandising that's around this specific iteration of Batman, and that's because the way that it's been executed has been so successful that they keep making stuff that ties into it.
Yeah, I think that's, you say we don't always talk about the games. It's been pretty rare that any of the games, any superhero game in general, forget about just Batman, has been able to like carve out its own place in the mythos of its, prime character. And the Arkham games, did that, right away, and then clearly built and developed on top of that. But it's really, it's really unique among superhero video games and Batman games. This doesn't happen typically.
Yeah,
right?
Well, before Arkham Asylum came out, there was absolutely a stigma around, license-based games, and especially superhero license-based games of being, quick cash-ins, not super AAA quality. That was around the time that this whole AAA moniker got put onto video games in terms of describing games that have really high production values and kind of the premier experiences you want to play on a gaming console. And before Arkham Asylum, that was just kind of unheard of in terms of a game that was both a good product tie-in thing, but also just a really good game with really high production value. with unique game mechanics and voice acting and everything you would expect from a AAA video game or whatever. And that game came out and surprised the hell out of everybody and raised the bar for the whole industry. So I kind of wanted, I mean, Chris is on the show, not just because we like him, but also because we've all played all the games, but Chris has played the Arkham games and replayed them a bunch. But I thought maybe you could kind of set this. What we're going to try to do on this show is go through all of the console-based Arkham games in the order of their release and kind of chat about each one. So if you could, Chris, kind of like set up what it was like right before Arkham Asylum and kind of lead into when that game came out.
Well, Batman's video game history up until, let's say, 2008 was really, really hit or miss. I mean, compared to a lot of other superheroes, and my buddy Chris Baker brought this up. He used to work at Marvel Games, and he actually worked on a number of Spider-Man games, and I had him on as a guest for my issue of Comics on Consoles that dealt with the 2000 Spider-Man game. And Arkham Asylum came up in conversation, and he said, well, you know, Batman has had probably a better track record compared to a lot of other superheroes in video games. And in the moment, I was thinking, well, I don't know if that's true. But then, you know, you start to think about it a little bit more. I mean, Batman never had a game that was quite as widely trashed in the gaming press and among gamers as something like Superman 64. Right. And like in the 2D spectrum, I mean, he goes as far back as, Commodore 64. And I think that even before that, there were a couple of text-based adventure games that were based on Batman. And he managed to break through into, let's say, the most mainstreaming kind of video game culture, particularly after the 89 movie came out. The 89 game on the original Nintendo is a legendary game even now. Yeah. Rivals the difficulty of Ninja Gaiden very easily, and perhaps even surpasses it. If you've beaten the Joker, then you deserve a handshake from me.
Yeah,
but
complete with the lightning bolts that he throws in the movie.
Yeah. Oh man, super accurate. Okay,
just the
and
same way.
And he's 8 feet tall, you know, just like Jack Nicholson. Yeah. So all that, and Batman's suit is just that perfect shade of purple, just like the movie.
Yeah, he did it before the comics.
Yeah, exactly.
Soundtrack is just Danny Elfman to a T.
But, you know, and then, you know, Batman Return of the Joker, not a great game comparatively. I still have a lot of affection for that game.
Ooh, I love that cover. I remember that cover.
Yeah. They were doing something right when they made that cover.
Yeah, most definitely.
And the graphics they pumped out of the NES at the time, it was like towards the end of its lifespan, and they like really pushed it on that game.
And still some of the most badass music in a video game I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. It was just a very hard game to play, especially when I was a kid with an NES. But, you know, especially when it broke into just that arcade beat-em-up style of the Super Nintendo Batman Returns game. And there were Batman games. I mean, the 89 movie license was spit into a bunch of different platforms. Mm-hmm. And the same with Batman Returns. Mm-hmm. But the NES and Super NES versions of Batman and Batman Returns, respectively, probably are some of the more well-regarded 2D era Batman games.
Yeah,
then you have the Adventures.
Brought up a lot.
Oh yeah, clearly. I mean, Batman Returns is one of the most viscerally satisfying games I've ever played. Period. Up until now, it's just great. You know, slamming people's heads together and
it's awesome.
Walking through and kicking the crap out of everybody. It's great. But then you know you have the Adventures of Batman and Robin on the Super Nintendo. And if you have that game, then you deserve a handshake because the original card's really hard to find. If you paid less than $70 for it nowadays,
shaking my own hand right now.
There you go, perfect.
I have the Lynx Batman Returns. It's hard as hell. Also.
Oh sure, yeah. I've never played that one personally. I've seen a lot of gameplay video of it. I'm surprised if you have a Lynx that you could see it.
I have a modded Lynx with a brand new modern LCD screen on it. It's awesome.
I need to see that. That sounds really cool.
It's really awesome.
Oh, I mean, anything you could ever think about having a cool modded version of, at least for me, you know, I'm not as deep into gaming as a lot of other people, but Haas has, like, to me, the most impressive array of things when he describes it. Like, I have to come visit.
Yeah, I have dumb stuff. I have I have Virtual Boy flashcards and
not
just
dumb.
crazy stuff.
Yeah, I was
Not
going to say,
dumb.
you just watch yourself right there, mister. That is
Yeah.
not dumb.
Rick Shoe is not on this show. All right, that stuff is cool. But going into the 3D era, Batman stumbled out of the gate. I think that it's pretty safe to say. I don't know how many of you guys played Batman Beyond Return of the Joker on the N64.
Ooh.
Yeah,
That's my review.
not a good game. I appreciate how ambitious Batman and Robin on the PS1 was. Because it was effectively trying to be an open world where you can play as Batman, Robin, or Batgirl, and you even have their vehicles, and you go around and you try to stop crimes.
Ridiculously ambitious for the time.
Ridiculously ambitious, but unfortunately difficult to even play. I mean, tank controls don't work in a third-person action game very well. I mean, just ask Spawn the Eternal about that. But, yeah, I mean, Batman and Robin was ambitious, ultimately fell short. The next generation is where things started to get much friendlier for Batman, I think. I mean, Batman Vengeance right out of the gate, pretty much.
Oh man, I love it.
Incredible.
You know, it
Love
hit the
it so much.
PS2, was ported to the GameCube.
Oh, I didn't realize it was ported.
Yeah, well, I mean, because it was originally released in early 2001, I think, and then...
Oh, was it? I thought it was all November, but maybe that's just my recollection, only paying attention to GameCube stuff at the time, because it was supposed to be a GameCube launch title, and it was delayed like a couple weeks or something.
That's right, yeah. But I mean, the GameCube was the first console for that generation that I got, and Vengeance was one of the first games that I bought for the GameCube as a result. But yeah, the PS2 version was October of 01, and then... Yeah, the GameCube followed in November, then the original Xbox version in December, and then it hit PC the following September in 2002. So it got ported to pretty much every predominant platform at the time. Ubisoft Montreal developed it. Really excellent third-person action game, especially considering its place so early in that generation of hardware.
Right. I mean, that's a game that I have like some of the fondest memories of. So for me, that was my freshman year in college, and the amount of time that got spent sitting on my dorm room floor playing that video game on what at the time was a huge TV to have in a dorm room. It's like a 32-inch tube TV that like blew people's minds. That I like mowed lawns for to bring to college, and like it was like nothing else. It was like Tony Hawk in that game, and we're looking at like they could make movies off of these graphics. Like we could watch a whole movie based on how good this looks. You know, it's crazy how for early in the run they really did a nice job.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then there wasn't really, unless you count the PC port of Vengeance, there wasn't a game in 2002. 2003,
Best year ever.
A very notable, mostly stumble exists in the form of Batman Dark Tomorrow. I created a podcast episode of Comics on Consoles devoted exclusively to Dark Tomorrow, where I think that it deserves to be raked over the coals as far as gameplay is concerned, but story-wise, we wouldn't see anything nearly that truthful to the comic book version of Batman, at least until, arguably, Arkham Asylum. The production design, even the voice acting, and the way that the cinematics were directed, the score, I think, is actually really brilliant. Is just really, really difficult to play. Ryan and I probably have more affection than most people do for Dark Tomorrow, because I think we both recognize just how really incredible the story was for its time. Coming out in 2003, a couple of years away, we didn't know what the hell was going to be happening with what would become Batman Begins.
It was right in the middle of like the dark ages of being a Batman film, where there were no movies and like the game, like that was like the thing.
We had the OnStar commercials.
That
was
right, yeah.
Exactly.
That's the only
and we
thing
were
had.
We were looking like maniacs at those OnStar commercials for potential hints at what the next movie was going to look like.
Frothing at the mouth. My buddies in school were like, "What is wrong with you?" Because they knew, and that was like, Batman in film has had such a long legacy in 20 years. But when I think of like the heat of my obsession with trying to chase down any scrap of are we ever going to get a Batman movie again, and checking Batman on film multiple times a day, and watching the OnStar commercial that I probably got through nefarious means, like, and saved in my computer on some file sharing program. That's where I go back to
AVI files, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I was there too. But I mean, that was what was so cool about Dark Tomorrow. On my Comics on Consoles episode, I got to talk to the story writer, Scott Peterson, who was he worked in DC's Batman editing office as the liaison between writers of the comics, multiple different comic book series, including series that didn't typically include Batman, and the adaptations, including like the animated series. And Scott Peterson himself, for my money, is a really good comic book writer. He wrote Batman the Gotham Adventures, which was based on the new Batman Adventures for like 40 issues, I think. And those are actually really good stories. And he put his heart and soul into telling a totally balls-to-the-wall, crazy Batman story that invokes pretty much every major Batman villain in Dark Tomorrow. And it's just a shame that the gameplay side of the equation did not match the quality of the story and the production design and the cutscenes that were on display in that game. Mm-hmm. But that could be a whole other conversation. In fact, that's a whole other conversation that Ryan and I are planning to have.
And we were going to do what? Did somebody write a retrospective of that for the site at one point, or
Ryan did?
That?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ryan,
there is I don't know if Bill. I think Bill's reposted this on the new BOF, but I did a top 10 article on like top 10 Batman games, and I ranked. And I wrote it mostly to write about Dark Tomorrow, and I put Dark Tomorrow at like number 2 out of 10, or maybe 3. I put it really high, and I made all the Arkham games like a bundled. At the time, I think only 3 Arkham games were out, and I bundled them all into like number 1, so I could put Dark Tomorrow higher than it should be.
Thumb just on to the give scale it the spotlight is what you might say.
Yeah.
I do. I remember that article very well.
Well, but that's the thing too. So 2003, we actually did get another Batman.
Try it out.
But we actually did get another Batman game in
That's
2003
true.
In the form of Rise of Sin Tzu, which was a much more arcadey, kind of like a Turtles in Time kind of a vibe, where you can choose to play as Batman, Robin, Batgirl, or Nightwing with the design and voice cast of the new Batman Adventures. We actually got another cool Jeffrey Combs Scarecrow performance out of it. And that's a fun game, but it's same developers as Vengeance, but a much thinner experience. Much thinner.
Mm-hmm. It's just
but
gameplay,
I mean,
just
I was
basically.
Yeah. And that's fine, and that's actually an original Xbox game that you can play on a 360. So if you have a 360, go for it. I think it's worth checking out at least. And Hiroyuki Tagawa does a really cool job playing Sin Tzu. In fact, I'm kind of surprised it's a character we haven't seen again, to be frank. But either way, it kind of came and went. And then 2005, really defining year for Batman in multiple ways, including for video games. And the very first episode of my podcast of Comics on Consoles, I did a profile of the Batman Begins video game, which is better than I think a lot of people give it credit for. Because not only did it introduce the concept of scaring the bejesus out of your enemies in order to have a tactical advantage over them, but the combat was really cool feeling, I thought. It was really sharp and kind of crunchy, and I really appreciated that. Mm-hmm. And since it came from the same developers as the Burnout series, you got to drive the Tumbler around in dedicated racing segments. Which was really cool for the time, and it was probably the best look we got at the Tumbler, even including the movie back then. So the Batman Begins game, I think it was great.
And it had voice acting from all of the main actors from the movie too, which is kind of a gift when you look back at it at this point.
It was an accomplishment.
I think we've maintained it's probably the best sounding Bale Batman voice out of any of the Dark Knight trilogy stuff is in that game and not the movies.
Yeah. I mean, the only conspicuous absence is Gary Oldman, but they don't use his likeness either. But it is kind of weird that they got everybody but him. Especially considering that he was the one who spilled the beans a few years later on the fact that there was going to be a Dark Knight game. But that obviously never materialized. So Batman Arkham
Talk to
Asylum.
some people that worked on that one.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'll bet. Oh man, that would be a really cool story. I would love.
There's been some good. There's been some good articles written about it.
Yeah, like Unseen 64 did some stuff about it, which was cool, and I've seen. I think even some maybe not footage, but a couple of stills have come out over what it looked like to glide over Gotham, and it looked like it was going to be kind of ambitious, but the fact that it was shelved, I mean, we'll talk about it in the show, I'm sure, but we get like a full-on Batman simulator in a few years' time, and it might have been worth the wait.
Exactly.
But the first time I remember hearing about just a totally independently developed Batman game, independent of, any other adaptations, it must have been, I think, late 2007, because I think looking back on a production for the game began sometime in September of that year, and I was like, okay, yeah, so another Batman game is coming. That's cool. I'm sure I will play it, but there's nothing in that early bit of news to make me think, or really anybody, I would think, have the perception that this was going to be some sort of transcendent Batman experience. Until you heard the name Paul Dini. And I think Dini's name was bandied about even before the voice cast's names were bandied about. And as soon as they brought up Dini's name, my interest was immediately piqued. And it showed, I think, just that gesture of even including his name in the conversation demonstrated that whoever was making this game, because I'd never heard of him before, were going for a kind of truthfulness that hadn't really been achieved in other Batman games. And granted, a lot of those other games were adaptations of other things that we'd seen before, but the fact that this was going to be a standalone Batman story and that they were going to invoke someone like Paul Dini, who has such a great track record with the character, that was cool. And I think Dini was on Detective at the time. So the fact that, he was putting out these genuinely great issues in the comics. Yeah, he had a great run.
That was a really good run on Detective.
Yeah, I could have read 100 issues of what he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, his first issue right out of the gate with J.H. Williams III, that smacked me right in the face. I wasn't expecting to be into it nearly as much as I was, but I think everybody recognized that, yeah, this is a guy that you do want involved with Batman. And if he's got stories in the tank, then let him take the wheel, by all means. And then, you started to get the hint that, okay, wait, Hamill? They're going to be going for Hamill? Conroy? Wait, is this a B-Task game? No, it's not a B-Task game. It's something independent that they are trying to really get the spirit right for Batman. And so, I mean, just like you guys, I'm sure, ravenously consuming every bit of information that comes out about this game. Sefton Hill, a name that I would obviously become very familiar with over the next couple of years, bandying names like The Legend of Zelda and Metroid as inspirations for this. And they say that they've played every other Batman game that exists and got into a room and talked about what worked and what didn't, and trying to take everything that worked and abandon everything that didn't. I think that was in the Game Informer cover story.
Yeah, I think so.
And so my excitement was just off the hinges. And I think seeing the footage and seeing some of the first stills, that was when it started to become very clear, I think, that not only were they going for something that felt true to Batman, but they were also going for something even beyond that was genuinely unsettling. And putting Batman in unsettling environments, I mean, the story that I immediately think of is always Grant Morrison's Arkham Asylum. And when you started to hear Arkham Asylum is going to be one of the primary location for the game, everything just started to feel really good. And, us as Batman fans are dialed into everything as it's coming out. And I'd be really interested to know what you guys thought. As all of this stuff started to trickle in, you heard Conroy and Hamill, you heard Dini, you heard Scary, you heard Standalone. How did all that stuff culminate for you guys?
I was like, from what I remember, I was super skeptical the entire time until the game actually came out. It was one of those things where it's like, I don't know if they can get it right. It's new everything. I don't like new everything.
Even the demo though, did the demo not convince you?
Well, I was the kind of person though and I still kind of am. I'm like, I'm not playing the demo. I'm going to get the game.
How did you resist, man? How?
Well, I was like, I want to go in 110% fresh. I don't want to play the demo. I just want to play the game when the game is out. So I waited until the game was out, and the thing that really was making me scratch my head at the time was when they said Dini was on board. I'm like, okay, that's really cool. Okay, they looked at all the other Batman games. Okay, they're trying to do it right and stuff like that. But when they announced the voice actors, I was like, okay, this is weird because I just didn't get it. I didn't get it until I played the game. And you got to remember, like at this time, because now we're used to having the Batman animated series voice actors play different versions of characters every like twice a year or something, right? We've had Conroy and Hamill play those characters in Justice, everything from the Killing Joke to Justice League Action, in addition to Conroy reprising his role as the animated series Batman in more modern day stuff like Justice League versus the Fatal Five, like. But so that's all over the place today. But back then it was like, wait, they got the animated series voice actors to play the characters again. Like, what are they going for? And it didn't click with me until I actually played the game. And but I think that skepticism was good because it kind of made my expectations, like it kept me open for it. I wasn't like through the roof, like it has to blow me away, and then it did, and I think that helped in the long run. And boy. I don't think anybody knew just how much of an impact that game was actually going to have once it came out. Like, we're still talking about it.
So I think for me, my first job out of college, I was assistant store manager for Target. And I was in charge of, we called it guest experience at the time. Well, not we, I don't work for Target anymore. They called it guest experience at the time. And part of my responsibilities was for the sort of scoring for customer experience. How much did they enjoy their time in the electronics section? So I spent a lot of time over in electronics, and we had the demo PS3 with like the scrolling menu of demos you could play. And I was over there one time talking to the dude that worked there every day, and he's like, "You're a big Batman fan, right?" I'm like, "Well, yeah." And he's like, "Have you played Arkham Asylum, or you've played the demo already, right?" I'm like, no, I don't really, to be honest, like comic book games just let me down so much. Like, it seems like, Haas, to your point, like I don't get what they're going for with the animated series cast. And, it sounds like it's kind of a cool idea, but, I'm not that hyped on it. He's like, dude, play the demo. And I played the demo. I'm like, when can I buy this game? He's like, it's already out, man. I'm like, oh,
it's been out for a year.
Yeah, you lucky bastard.
Yeah, it was like a couple months later. The game had been out.
That's like if you talk to Rob Myers, it was like his first experience with Batman Begins. He was like, I just kind of knew a Batman movie was coming out, and then once I finally realized it was a thing, it was almost out of theaters, and I'm like, oh, holy crap, I need to go see this new Batman movie. And he totally almost missed it. It's insane to me.
I mean, look, that sounds awesome, just because I've never had a more agonizing wait for a video game than for Arkham Asylum. Arkham Knight was pretty bad, but
oh my god,
the fact that you were able to just go and take it home, that's cool.
Yeah, and my timeline's wrong. This wasn't my first job out of college. It was the first store that I ran. So I was over hanging out.
Liar.
Yeah. No,
How can we believe anything that comes out of your mouth?
Curses.
Uh-oh, fake news.
No, so I kind of went in and ran this Target store for a while in 2009, and it was August of 2009, and this was probably October. And it was off my radar. I was busy with work, and like I said, I'd been following a little bit, but just really wasn't that excited about it. And then he said, go buy it or go play this demo. And I bought it the same day and went home and like just dove right in. And I just remember being like anytime you play the game, and what everybody always says is, it's the first time a game made you feel like you're Batman. And man, that couldn't have been more true. But like the whole time, it's like the first time you felt like you were Batman on Halloween night. And it's not Halloween night, but like everything about the way the game is created and the eerie feeling and, just how creepy and developed Arkham Asylum was as a character itself, like just blew me away. I had no idea that was what was in store for me, because the demo at the time was just sort of the fight aspects, the combos that you could do and, build the chain. And that I thought was, really engrossing. But then when I got home and got into the actual gameplay, I was just blown away by it and the atmosphere that game creates.
So for me, I was in college, and I don't remember the build up exactly, but I wasn't really a massive gamer. It's like me and the friends, we played Madden, and then I dipped into my old Mario games all the time. And then they'd introduced me to this little series that people knew. It was called Halo.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. So we were into that, but then once I'd come across the announcement that a Batman game was coming, it's like, well, it's a Batman game, so I want it. And so I think I sound more optimistic than Haas and Garrett, you two did, because I was just excited because I was longing for another Batman game. And so then I remember the day of its release, I was at Blockbuster Video. Remember that? And I, like, when they opened, so I could run to their game section, and they had Arkham Asylum to rent, because I was trying to be responsible and not use my college money to buy a $50 video game. It was foolish because I beat the game. I skipped classes, and I beat the game within a couple days, and then I went off and I bought the damn game anyway. And then I just played it again, and this time I went through with all the extras and all that, and I was floored. I remember, and I think what was cool about it, especially, was I was the uber Batman nerd out of my group of friends, but the friends that played games, they loved the game too. Like, they were interested in it too. It's not like, oh, it's just another Batman game. It's just like, oh, this is an awesome video game.
Yeah, it's such a good point, Haas. Laura. Sorry, other
no
Ryan.
problem, Holzmann.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Like,
JK.
Hi, Eric.
That's a really, really, really good point, because I think in my mind this game's sort of always linked to the Dark Knight. Not in theme, not in the take on Batman, but The Dark Knight was the movie that my buddies that always gave me a hard time about being a big comic dork and loving Batman could watch and be like, okay, this one's awesome. This is an awesome movie. They're not Batman fans, but they love that movie. And the same thing for this video game. This was the video game that I could give to those same friends or other friends that weren't diehard Batman people, that could say, this is a fantastic video game. I get why you like Batman so much when it comes to like this game, this interpretation, this works.
Yeah. And I think that is why I was still kind of, a little miffed about it, because the Dark Knight had just come out and it was huge, and then we got the news that there was going to be a Dark Knight game, and then it got canceled or whatever, and then we're going to get this instead. And I was like, nah, after the Batman Begins game, I just wanted to keep getting the movie adaptation games because I enjoy those, and I'm like, well, why can't we have Batman, Dark Knight game? Ooh, so it was one of those things where like I had to wait until it prove that it's better or whatever, and how can these two things coexist, and how can we have a video game that's not a tie-in to something? It was like it just seemed like a gamble to me, and of course it paid off so well. And even though I was like cautious about it, the wait was still excruciating, because and then it got delayed. Didn't it get delayed, Chris? Like once or twice?
Because it was supposed to come out in June of 2009. Well, I think
it was 3 months later.
First it was, I think it was originally going to be like late 2008, and then they pushed it to summer of 2009, and then it was end of summer of 2009.
End of August.
Yeah.
And you know, just with the Dark Knight thing for another second, like what I wanted, you know, very, very much forever, and got it with Batman Begins, and was so thrilled, obviously with what we got on screen, and then was like, you know, eagerly beyond, you know, what anything I could express, looking forward to the Dark Knight. What I really wanted in cinematic Batman was, what if Batman existed in the real world, which Nolan, you know, gave us, you know, very close approximation of that. But like, you know, I'd been reading comic books for years, and, you know, watching the animated series, and was into all things Batman. And what Arkham Asylum gave us was like just a little bit of that supernatural edge that was missing in the Nolan movies, which I didn't mind, you know, because that in the movies, because I wanted that real world kind of gritty. What if there was a Batman in the real world? What would that look like? Take for movies. And then in the video game, I sort of got like, played it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my Batman. Like, this has elements of that, but it also has the supernatural and the more outlandish villains, and, you know, pretty much everybody you'd want to see is there. And it went into sort of this, you know, creepy, surreal world. And we can talk about, like, you know, get into the Scarecrow aspects and all of that. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the piece that I'd sort of been missing in my Batman fandom and experience at the time, that the video game was able to deliver, while, you know, the movies were still giving you the more grounded approach.
All right, that is where I'll put a pin in this discussion for now. In the next episode, we'll pick this conversation back up and get into each individual game in the Batman Arkham franchise. Until then, for Garrett, Chris, and Ryan, I'm Ryan. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey now! You've been listening to the Batman on Film podcast, a proud member and the sponsor of the Batman Podcast Network, batmanpodcastnetwork.com. You can listen to the BOF podcast on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, TuneIn, and wherever good podcasts like this one can be found. Want to advertise on the BOF podcast? Go to advertisecast.com/the Batman on Film Con podcast. Follow Jet on Twitter at Batman on Film, and on BOF's Facebook fan page at facebook.com/jet.batmanonfilm. Email Jet via jet@batman-on-film.com. I'm announcer Rachel. Thanks for listening.